My son stopped me at the hospital entrance after I had driven 15 hours straight and said the words that would end up costing them everything. "Mom, what are you doing here? My wife said she doesn't want you around." 4 days later, when the hospital called asking how I planned to handle the $2,300 delivery bill, I smiled for the first time since my grandson was born. Where are you watching from today? Share your location in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me go back and explain how we reached this moment of karma. 3 weeks earlier, my daughter-in-law Jessica had called me, her voice unusually warm. "Mom Carol, the baby could arrive any day now, and we'd love for you to be here when he's born. You're going to be such a wonderful grandmother." I should have realized something was unusual when she started calling me Mom Carol instead of just Carol. After 5 years of marriage to my son David, she had never been this friendly. But the excitement of becoming a grandmother for the first time clouded my thinking. At 65, I had been waiting for this moment ever since David shared the pregnancy news 8 months earlier. I live in Phoenix, and they live in Denver, a 15-hour drive across desert highways and mountain roads. I packed my best clothes, bought gifts for the baby, and even booked a week at a comfortable hotel near the hospital. This was supposed to be one of the most important weeks of my life. The drive was exhausting. My back ached from sitting so long, but every mile brought me closer to meeting my grandson. I only stopped for gas and coffee, calling David twice to check for updates. Both times, Jessica answered his phone, sounding kind and telling me to drive safely. She said they were looking forward to seeing me. When I finally arrived at the hospital parking garage at 2 a.m. on Tuesday morning, I was tired but excited. It felt like I had accomplished something major. The maternity ward receptionist told me Jessica was in labor in room 314. I walked quickly down the hallway, my heart racing with anticipation. That's when I saw David pacing outside the delivery room. He looked more stressed than happy. The moment he noticed me, his expression shifted, not to relief or joy, but to something closer to panic. "Mom, what are you doing here?" The question caught me off guard. "What do you mean?" Jessica invited me. She said she wanted me here for the birth. David glanced at the delivery room door, then back at me. He looked conflicted. "She changed her mind about having family here. She wants it to be just us." "But I drove 15 hours, David. I'm already here. I'm not asking to be in the delivery room, just nearby when my grandson is born." "I know, Mom, but Jessica feels strongly about this. You know how emotional she gets, and the doctor said stress could complicate things." Something in his voice made it clear this wasn't sudden. It felt planned, but I was too exhausted and shocked to argue in a hospital hallway. "Fine," I said quietly. "I'll go to my hotel and wait for your call." David looked relieved, which confirmed my suspicion that I was being intentionally kept away. "Thanks, Mom. I'll call you as soon as the baby is born." I spent the next 8 hours in my hotel room checking my phone constantly. When David finally called at 10 a.m. Wednesday, his voice sounded tired but happy. "Mom, he's here. Nathan David Martinez, 7 pounds 2 ounces. He's perfect." "Congratulations," I said. "When can I meet him?" There was a pause. "Jessica's really tired. The delivery was difficult. Maybe give us a day or two." I felt like I was asking for permission to see my own family. "David, I drove 15 hours to be here." "I know, and we appreciate it, but Jessica needs time to recover. You understand, right?" I didn't understand, but I agreed because I had no other option. I spent 2 more days in that hotel, ordering room service and watching daytime television while they bonded with my grandson just a few miles away. By Friday morning, I still hadn't heard anything. I finally drove to the hospital, hoping to at least see my grandson through the nursery window. That's when I learned they had already been discharged. I called David immediately. "You took the baby home without telling me?" "Mom, Jessica wanted to be in her own space. She's been anxious about germs and visitors." "I'm not a visitor, David. I'm your mother. I know. Maybe next month, when things settle down. Next month, after driving 15 hours. That was when I made a decision that changed everything. I hung up, packed my bags, and drove back to Phoenix. If they wanted to exclude me, fine, but actions have consequences. Sunday afternoon, my phone rang. The caller ID showed Denver General Hospital. "Is this Carol Martinez?" "Yes. We have a billing issue regarding Nathan's birth. The insurance claim was denied, and we need to discuss payment for the delivery. Instead of feeling worried, I felt something else, clarity. I'm sorry, but there's been a mistake. I'm not responsible for that bill. Our records list you as the financial guarantor. That's when I realized what Jessica had done while I was driving across states to support them. I asked for copies of the documents. When they arrived, everything became clear. My signature had been forged. My personal and financial details had been used without permission. The forms even incorrectly listed me as the maternal grandmother. The timing made it worse. These forms were submitted while Jessica was speaking kindly to me on the phone, inviting me to be there. I called the hospital back and reported fraud. I provided evidence, texts, call logs, photos from my trip, and timestamps showing where I was when the documents were submitted. The hospital's legal department took it seriously. They suspended all charges under my name and began an investigation. What Jessica didn't realize was that I had spent 35 years working in medical billing. I understood exactly how these cases worked. A few days later, I spoke with a detective who confirmed this was a clear case of identity theft and fraud. The evidence showed planning, not a mistake. Soon after, a hospital investigator arrived with security images. They showed Jessica at a computer submitting the forms, at a time when I was still hours away from Denver. The situation escalated quickly. Legal action followed, and the case moved forward. When David finally called, his voice was tense. "Mom, what did you do?" "The police came to our house. Jessica was arrested." I explained calmly. I didn't press charges. I reported fraud when the hospital contacted me. There was silence before he asked, "What bill?" "The delivery bill your wife tried to make me responsible for." As the truth became clear to him, his tone changed. He asked what would happen next. I told him the outcome depended on the investigation and Jessica's actions. But I also made one thing clear. This wasn't just about money. It was about trust, respect, and accountability. When Jessica got on the phone, she called it a misunderstanding. She said she didn't intend harm, but the evidence told a different story. She asked me to help make the situation go away. I responded simply, "This is no longer in my hands." Later, David asked me not to cooperate with the case, but after everything, being excluded, misled, and used financially, I made my position clear. I would tell the truth. What followed would be decided by the legal system. Sometimes consequences aren't about revenge, they're about accountability. On morrow, I had a meeting scheduled with the FBI agent assigned to the case, and I sensed that things were about to become more complex. What I hadn't shared with David was that the investigation had uncovered additional details. Jessica's actions were not limited to my grandson's birth. Agents had identified similar schemes involving at least 3 other family members over the past 2 years. Jessica Martinez was not simply a new mother who made poor decisions. She had engaged in repeated fraudulent activity, and my situation was only the beginning. FBI agent Lisa Chen had a calm, professional manner that reflected her experience with financial crime investigations. She sat across from me in my living room, a thick file placed on the table between us. "Mrs. Martinez, I need to prepare you for what we found during our investigation into Jessica Martinez's activities." I had expected this conversation since David's call the day before. His tone, anxious and pressured, suggested there was more involved than just the hospital bill. "How serious is it?" Agent Chen opened the file. Over the past 36 months, Jessica Martinez has committed identity theft and fraud against at least 6 family members across 4 states. The total financial loss exceeds $47,000. I was stunned. 6 people. Your case involving the hospital bill is what led us to uncover the broader pattern. During our review, we found that Jessica collected personal information from relatives and used it to open credit accounts, secure small loans, and submit fraudulent insurance claims. She handed me a document outlining a timeline. David's younger sister, Emma in California, had accumulated $8,000 in unauthorized credit card charges. Jessica's own sister in Seattle had been left with a $5,000 emergency room bill transferred into her name. David's cousin Jake in Texas had a $12,000 car loan issued under his identity without his knowledge. Did any of them realize what was happening? Most believed the incidents were isolated, clerical errors or external identity theft. Jessica was careful to spread her activities across different locations and time periods, making the pattern difficult to detect. But someone must have suspected something. They did, but Jessica consistently provided reasonable explanations. She blamed system errors, administrative mistakes, or temporary financial issues she claimed she would fix. She often made partial payments to prevent further investigation. Agent Chen presented another document. The hospital case involving your grandson was the most sophisticated. She didn't just misuse your financial information. She created an entire false narrative about your role to justify making you responsible for the bill. What do you mean? On the hospital forms, Jessica identified you as the maternal grandmother and stated that you had requested to cover all delivery costs as a gift. She forged your signature to support that claim. The situation was difficult to process. Not only had I been excluded, but she had also created a false story portraying me as willingly paying for the experience. She told the hospital billing department that you were financially comfortable and had insisted on covering all expenses as your contribution to the family. That is why they contacted you with confidence regarding payment, while actively preventing me from even meeting my grandson. Exactly. The combination of financial fraud and intentional emotional harm makes this case particularly strong for prosecution. Agent Chen closed the file. Mrs. Martinez, it's important to understand that these were not impulsive actions. This was a consistent pattern over several years. She targeted family members who trusted her, caused financial and personal damage, and only responded when confronted. What happens next? She is facing federal charges that could result in 15 to 20 years in prison. Additional state charges may add another 5 to 10 years. With multiple victims across states and clear evidence of planning, this is a serious case. My phone had been ringing continuously. David, Jessica's mother, and other relatives, but I had not answered. I asked Agent Chen how Jessica obtained so much personal information, mostly through social media. She monitored family posts, birthdays, anniversaries, names, and used that data to answer security questions when opening accounts. She used family connections against us. It happens more often than people realize. Family members typically have access to sensitive details and are less likely to be suspected. After Agent Chen left, I reviewed my phone. Numerous missed calls and messages from relatives trying to explain the situation. I decided to call Emma. Aunt Carol, I'm so glad you called. David told me about the hospital issue. This is overwhelming. Emma, I was informed that Jessica also used your information, about $8,000 in credit card charges. There was a pause. How did you know? Because multiple family members have been affected. What explanation did she give you? She said it was a mistake, that she used my information by accident and would resolve it. She made some payments, but never fully settled it. When I tried to follow up, she became defensive, and David supported her. That wasn't a mistake. It was identity theft, and it was part of a larger pattern. I explained the full situation to Emma. By the end of the call, she was emotional. I should have reported it sooner. You trusted family. That's understandable. That evening, David arrived at my door holding Nathan. He looked exhausted. Mom, we need to talk. Seeing my grandson for the first time, I felt a strong emotional response. He was small and peaceful. Under normal circumstances, this would have been a joyful moment. He's beautiful, David. Mom, please. Jessica could face 20 years. Nathan needs his mother. Nathan also needs responsible parents. David tried to explain her behavior as fear about financial insecurity, but the pattern of actions suggested something more serious. He asked me not to testify. Without your cooperation, the case weakens. I held Nathan briefly before responding. David, answer honestly. Did you know about the other incidents? No, I didn't know any of it. But you knew I was being excluded while being told I was welcome. Yes, I should have handled that differently. You chose to support her decisions instead of protecting me. He said she was his wife and the mother of his child. I asked what would happen to Nathan if Jessica went to prison. David admitted he didn't know and mentioned financial challenges. It became clear that he was also concerned about practical consequences. That's something that should have been considered earlier, I said. I returned Nathan to him and ended the conversation. As I closed the door, I understood that my relationship with David might not recover. However, Accountability was more important than avoiding conflict. The next morning, I went to the federal courthouse in Phoenix for Jessica's preliminary hearing. Due to the multi-state nature of the case, it was being handled at the federal level. The courtroom was mostly empty. Jessica sat at the defendant's table in custody. David sat nearby holding Nathan alongside Jessica's parents. The charges were read: 6 counts of identity theft, 4 counts of wire fraud, 3 counts of mail fraud, and 1 count of conspiracy. The prosecution outlined a pattern of financial exploitation totaling over $47,000. Jessica entered a plea of not guilty. The prosecution requested that she remain in custody, citing the pattern of deception and reports of concerning behavior since her arrest. Her attorney requested release, noting her status as a new mother with no prior record. The judge reviewed the details carefully. Given the extent of the alleged actions and the pattern of behavior, bail was denied. Jessica reacted emotionally, while David attempted to speak on her behalf, but was instructed to remain seated. As she was escorted out, Jessica briefly looked in my direction. After the hearing, I sat outside the courthouse as David and his family gathered. They appeared to be discussing next steps before eventually leaving. I received a message from Jessica's mother accusing me of causing harm to her daughter's life. I chose not to respond. Another message followed immediately after. Nathan will grow up without his mother because of your actions. I turned off my phone and drove home, thinking about the word vindictiveness. Was it vindictive to report crimes committed against me? Was it wrong to refuse to help criminals avoid the consequences of their behavior? Or was it vindictive to invite your mother-in-law to drive 15 hours for her grandson's birth, then exclude her from the hospital, forge her signature on financial documents, and try to pressure her into silence once she uncovered the fraud? That evening, I received a call from Agent Chen. Mrs. Martinez, I wanted to update you on the case. Jessica's attorney has contacted us about a possible plea agreement. What kind of plea? I asked. Full restitution to all victims, guilty pleas to reduce charges, and a recommended sentence of 5 years, with the possibility of parole after 3. What do you think? Honestly, I think she should accept it. If this goes to trial and she's convicted on all counts, she could face a minimum of 20 years. But the decision isn't mine. What happens next? The prosecutor will present the plea offer to all 6 victims. If everyone agrees, Jessica avoids trial. If even one person objects, we proceed with full prosecution. After the call ended, I walked through my house, weighing justice against mercy. Jessica had systematically stolen from family members who trusted her. She had manipulated me into one of the most humiliating experiences of my life. She showed no remorse until she was caught, and even then, she blamed everyone else. But she was also Nathan's mother, and David would struggle as a single parent if she went to prison for 20 years. My phone rang again. It was David. Mom, did Agent Chen call you about the plea deal? She did. Will you accept it? I looked at a framed photo on the mantle from a time when David was young, when I believed I understood how family relationships worked. I need time to think, David. Mom, please. 5 years is already a long time. Nathan will be in kindergarten when she gets out. Your wife committed federal crimes against 6 people. 3 years seems like a very light sentence for that level of betrayal. But it's not just about Jessica. It's about Nathan. It's about our family. Our family ended the moment Jessica chose to commit identity theft against me. What we have now is the result of her decisions. I ended the call and sat in the quiet, thinking about what justice should look like for someone who used family trust as a weapon. The deadline to respond was Friday. I had 3 days to decide whether Jessica deserved mercy or accountability. And I realized that sometimes the most responsible thing you can do is refuse to shield someone from the consequences of their actions. I rejected the plea deal Friday morning. By that afternoon, Jessica's attorney was calling me directly to negotiate. That confirmed I had made the right choice. Mrs. Martinez, this is Michael Stevens, Jessica's attorney. I understand you have concerns about the proposed agreement. I was in my garden, trimming roses under the Arizona sun. Mr. Stevens, my concern is your client committing federal crimes against my family. I understand your position, but you should consider the impact of a lengthy trial on your grandson, the media attention, the stress on the family. There it was. The attempt to make me responsible for Jessica's decisions. My grandson's well-being should have been Jessica's priority before she chose this path. I believe there's information that may change your perspective, he said. Something in his tone made me pause. What kind of information? Could we meet in person? There are complications the prosecutor may not have shared. 2 hours later, I sat across from him in his office. He seemed uneasy, adjusting his tie and avoiding eye contact. Mrs. Martinez, what I'm about to share is confidential, but Jessica has authorized me to disclose it in hopes of reaching a resolution. I'm listening. Jessica's crimes were not entirely her idea. She was being coerced. I almost laughed. Coerced by whom? Her previous husband, Marcus Webb, their divorce was complicated. He's a professional con artist with a history of financial fraud. He trained Jessica and forced her to target your family after she remarried. How did he force her? Blackmail. He has compromising information about her past that could destroy her marriage and her relationship with your family. I tried to process what I was hearing. So she committed crimes against 6 family members because her ex-husband made her? Essentially, she's been sending him half of what she stole to keep him silent. What secrets? Stevens hesitated. Jessica has a prior criminal record, identity theft, fraud. She served 18 months in prison in Oregon before moving and starting over. The room felt unsteady. David doesn't know this? No. She changed her name and created a new identity. I leaned back, thinking, if true, Jessica wasn't just someone who made bad choices. She was a career criminal who had built her life on deception. Why are you telling me this? She's afraid that if this goes to trial, Marcus will appear and reveal everything. She fears David discovering her past more than going to prison. And you think this should make me sympathetic? I think it explains her actions. She's not the mastermind the prosecutor describes. She's also a victim. I stood up. Let me be clear. Your client is a convicted felon who lied about her identity, married my son under false pretenses, and committed crimes against his family while being blackmailed. And you believe that makes her more sympathetic? He said nothing. This only confirms she is more dangerous than I thought, I continued. And my son has been living with someone he doesn't truly know. I turned to leave, then paused. When this goes to trial, make sure the prosecutor knows about Marcus Webb. Sending stolen money to a known criminal is another offense. I left, certain of my decision. When I got home, David called again. Mom, Jessica's attorney said you met with him. I did. He said you're still refusing the plea. That's correct. Mom, she's already facing 5 years. Isn't that enough? I sat at the kitchen table, looking at an old photo of David's graduation. Did Jessica ever tell you about her life before Colorado? Of course. She grew up in Seattle, went to college in Oregon. Why? Did she mention being married before? Silence. Did she mention a criminal record? Mom, what's going on? You need to sit down, and you may want someone to watch Nathan while we talk. As I prepared to tell him the truth, I realized her crimes against me were only part of the damage. The deeper harm was what she had done to David, building their entire relationship on deception. Jessica served time for identity theft and fraud before she met you, I said. She changed her name and created a new identity. That's impossible, he whispered. Her attorney told me. She's also being blackmailed by her ex-husband, Marcus Webb. I heard Nathan crying in the background as David tried to process everything. She's been stealing from us and sending him money, I continued. After a long pause, David said, what am I supposed to do? You need to protect yourself and Nathan. You don't know who she really is. I need to confront her. She's in custody. You'll need a lawyer. If this is true, Nathan and I are victims too. Yes, he spoke with regret. I should have questioned things earlier. You couldn't have known, I said, though I knew the weight of it wouldn't lift easily. After the call, I reflected on how many lives Jessica had affected. Family members, David, Nathan, even the people she used to construct her false identity. Then Agent Chen called again. Jessica had begun cooperating, providing evidence against Marcus Webb in exchange for potential leniency. Financial records, communications, details about other victims. Did you know about her criminal record? I asked. Yes, Chen replied. Her real name is Jennifer Webb. That confirmed everything. My daughter-in-law had been living under a false identity for 5 years. What about my son legally? I asked. That depends on state law. He needs legal counsel. That evening, David showed up at my door with Nathan in a bag. Mom, can we stay here tonight? Of course, I said, holding them both. As I helped him settle in, I realized that despite everything, we had grown closer. But I also knew the situation was far from over. The trial began weeks later in Phoenix. The courtroom was crowded, the case drawing attention due to the scale of the fraud and the betrayal involved. The prosecution presented Jennifer Webb as a calculated identity thief who had operated across multiple states. Her attorney attempted to frame her as a victim of coercion, but under cross-examination, that narrative began to fall apart. Evidence showed she had committed fraud even before Marcus re-entered her life. She had researched victims, accessed financial records, and planned her actions in advance. Witnesses from earlier cases testified about her history. She wasn't a reluctant participant. She had been a central figure in a broader criminal operation. Further testimony revealed that her relationship with Marcus had never truly ended. Their supposed divorce was part of a strategy to create a new identity. During the trial, more disturbing details emerged. The operation involved targeting families, building trust, committing fraud, and then disappearing, sometimes even staging deaths. In one of the most serious revelations, investigators uncovered plans involving Nathan, plans that included kidnapping and financial extortion. By the end of the trial, it was clear Jennifer was not acting out of fear or desperation. She was deliberate, strategic, and fully aware of her actions. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. The verdict, guilty on all counts. She was sentenced to 25 years in federal prison without parole. As we left the courthouse, David held Nathan close. Mom, I don't know how to thank you, he said. For what? For not letting this go. If you hadn't acted, things could have ended very differently. I looked at my grandson, asleep and safe. The only thing she was right about, I said, is that people like her exist, but she was wrong about one thing. What's that? I won't feel unsafe again. Now I know what to watch for, and I know I can protect my family. As we drove home, I realized something unexpected. From everything she had done, one thing remained, the certainty that I would never ignore warning signs again, and that protecting my family would always come first.